Welcome to HIV The Morning After. I'm Dan Hall. I'm a documentary producer and director. I've spent my entire adult life watching ignorance and prejudice play out around HIV. And frankly, I'm tired of it. And I'm sure many of you are too. This podcast is an attempt to do something about that. Not through lectures or statistics, but by doing what I do best. Interviewing people and letting them tell their own stories. Real voices, lived experiences, no bullshit. These conversations matter, and if you think so too, please rate, review, and share HIV The Morning After. I can make these episodes, but I can't make people listen to them or find them on their algorithms. That bit's down to you. You can reach me at hivthemorningafter@gmail.com. Right then, let's get started. My guest today is Diego Agurto Beroiza. He's Chilean, he's HIV positive, and he's living in London. When someone in his community dies from HIV-related causes, he says we become incomplete. So he's building a museum, not a building, a living archive made of testimonies performed on stage. And he calls it the Living Museum of Emotional Archives. And it's built on a simple idea that when someone dies, their emotional archive shouldn't disappear with them. Diego works with migrant communities, LGBTQ+ groups, and people living with HIV. We'll chat in this episode about the experiences of living with HIV in Chile and what lessons can be learned here in the UK. Diego, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And you're speaking to us from Santiago, actually, today, rather than London.
Yes, I'm from Chile working in the Living Museum project. So, yes, I'm here in my home country.
So then, Diego, you're from Chile. Can you tell me a little bit about the dictatorship and how this affected people living with HIV?
Okay, the dictatorship started in 1973 against the socialist president, and they killed him, and they start a dictatorship was a horror. A lot of people died. We are looking for the bodies until today. And why this is an important moment for the people living with HIV, because the zero case was in 1984, and the dictatorship said that this was not a problem of the state, was not a national problem. Was just one case, just for the gay people. The people was dying.
To help a British audience understand a little bit better, when you got your own diagnosis, how did that make you feel, considering the history that you knew about in Chile?
I was activist before my diagnosis, so I had the knowledge, I thought, until the day I received the diagnosis, and that changed my life because I had the feel that I don't know nothing about AIDS and HIV. But was weird because I was supporting people with HIV. I received my treatment 1 month after the diagnosis, and I was thinking the whole first month, like, I have treatment very fast now, but I know that the history, the memory of my new community, because the identity changed after diagnosed, the history is not the same for the people in the past. So for me, it was mandatory to change my activism in a more activist way, more close to the communities.
So you live between Chile and the UK. How do you feel that your unique intersectionality helps educate us here in the UK who work fighting against HIV stigma?
Being in the public space, talking about this, working with organization, I'm working with the Love Tank, I'm working with Positive East, I'm working with Metro Charity, how apply theater, how the experience of art can be useful to talk about the HIV in the public sphere. So how we can change first the people close to us, family, I don't know, colleagues, how we can change the mind, even the knowledge of the people in UK.
So then, you're Chilean, but living in London, HIV positive. When you arrived here in the UK, what was it like trying to access HIV services as a migrant?
Okay, I arrived to London in 2023. For me, was I could say easier than other people, just because I had the connection with AHF from Chile. So I went to London with people supporting me.
And so you felt you arrived in London then already with the benefits because you were connected with an organization.
Yes.
Did you feel, though, that for people maybe who weren't benefiting from things such as that they might be facing problems, that other people might face problems, maybe language problems or bureaucracy or just fragmented information?
Yes, I think that the big problem could be, one is the language. When we can find information about HIV treatment or HIV support or mental health support, it's very difficult to get it. And the other is, at least this is my experience working in workshops or similar with migrant communities living with HIV, is the idea that if you speak in public about your condition, your seropositive condition, you can lose your visa.
So what are the conditions of living with HIV and being public about it and coming into the UK? Are there barriers?
To go to UK is not a problem because you don't need to talk about it.
So painting a picture of your life in Chile before you came to the UK, what was it like? What kind of stigma were you facing?
Just because, here in Chile, the index case, or the patient zero, he died in the dictatorship in the 80s. The dictatorship was supported by Thatcher. Thatcher was very, very close to Pinochet. And I think when appeared this case in Chile, the mass media was very close to the dictatorship. And the newspaper here used the idea of a gay cancer, the pink cancer, these kind of phrases. So I think in Chile we are living now, until now, the construction of that kind of stigma. The people living with HIV is gay, is bad people. The same idea than other countries, but here we need more, programs to talk in schools about HIV, to talk in the universities, in other spaces. When I received my diagnosis here in Chile, I never talked with my family or openly, just with a small group. But when I arrived to London, was not common, but was more possible to talk in the public space, just because the legal protection for people living with HIV. I was using my condition to talk politically in the university or in other spaces, and that experience. And I think it's the idea of the diaspora, that you can go to another country and feel that this idea that you are new in the country, in the space, so you can create a new identity, or maybe you can, not new identity, but you can change some part of your identity. And now living in London, I'm not just an actor and performer and director, and I am a migrant. I'm seropositive too.
How did you tell your family about your status, considering you initially felt uncomfortable doing it?
Look, I think this was a conversation with people in UK, because, this stereotype that the people in Latin America were very close to our family, to our mothers and fathers, is real. It's like all Sundays you have a dinner or lunch with your dad, your mom, or your family. It's like it's part of our culture. So I don't want to talk with my mom because she will cry, and I have energy and time to explain her and to my sister and my niece and my dad. In a way, I don't want to be teacher about the experience with HIV. That was at the beginning. But now, I think this year, was in August. I had a conversation with my mom and my sister first, and putting some limits, some boundaries. Like, I will talk about this, about my experience, about what happened with my body, that I'm undetectable, so there is not a problem. I will not die. Everything. And if you have a question, we can talk tomorrow, but not now. After the conversation, I will need time to be alone, maybe a moment, because when you are talking about that traumatic experience, the experience happen again. Is the performative of the traumatic experience. Last week here in Chile, the people, we had the presidential process, and the next president of Chile will be a guy from the ultra right wing, and our community is in danger in this moment because he's very close to Trump, to Milei, to this fascist. So we know what they think about HIV people, seropositive people, what they think about trans people, what they think about LGBTQ plus community, what they think about women's rights.
So then, concentrating just on HIV, the communities of people living with HIV, how do you feel these political threats might show themselves?
I think the first idea about the far right, why I'm concerned about the future, is because they are using all the time with our communities the idea of the guilt. We are guilty. The people living with HIV is our responsibility. We are guilty. So this Catholic, Christian, and idea of we need to pay something. The idea of the sin. We are sinner. And the translation, is in laws. It's like Milei in Argentina. He cut the money for PrEP, and now he's using this idea that the people living with HIV should pay their own treatment. We know that the value, the cost of one treatment for 1 month is impossible to pay for all the people. I'm concerned because Trump is cutting funding, Milei is cutting funding. I know that Meloni in Italy, she wants to cut some funding in a health system related to HIV and PrEP and gonorrhea. So now in Chile and in Peru and Bolivia, we are close again to lost our right because they think that we are responsible of our condition, so we should pay not just in a social way. It's not a social punishment. It's the punishment. The translation of this punishment is we should pay it with our money.
Also, isn't saving money on PrEP a false economy? Surely preventing HIV is a lot cheaper than treating it.
Yes.
And if the argument is, oh, well, they shouldn't be catching HIV at all, then, well, why should straight people who don't have children pay for schools? Why should we pay for it? Why should I pay for maternity care? I'm a man.
Yes.
I'm a gay man with no children. It's like, how far do you go with that?
I agree with you. It's so stupid. The idea is so stupid. It's like the far right is not, they don't have an intelligent group of people thinking about health, about HIV, about viruses. If they cut funding in PrEP and HIV treatment, it's not that we will pay it because we cannot maybe pay it all month. So the pandemic will come again. We are in a very difficult moment with HIV and in different countries. In Europe, again, it's growing. The percent of people living with HIV. Here in Latin America is a mess. And nobody can want to say that it's a pandemic again. But I think in the future, if this is real, if these far right ideas come true, this will be a mess.
So what would you say then to somebody listening to this podcast, say a straight person listening to this podcast, saying, why should my taxes be used to pay for some drugs that will allow lots of gay men just to fuck each other?
First, the idea of the gay men, just the gay men we live with HIV is old-fashioned. is not real. We know that we are an important percent, but women, they are a big percent of people living with HIV. So why you should pay taxes for treatment? Because we are a society, all the people is part of the society, and an issue with one part of the community is the issue of the society. Why you should pay? Because I'm paying too my taxes for your kids to go to their schools. So I think it's fair if I'm paying taxes for kids, for babies, for students, and I don't have kids.
I think there is always a complex intersectionality for anything to do with sex. And of course, I'm aware that sex isn't the only means by which HIV is transmitted. But because transmission can occur through sex, it then comes up against all this puritanical morality from religion and family values and heteronormative bullshit, frankly. And I think that's such a dangerous space for us to go in, because it's basically just saying your lives are wrong.
Yes. We will not finish with these conservative ideas. I have this anxiety that we need to be all the time thinking in present very fast about the next strategy. But the conservative groups are using the same strategy, at least for the last, I don't know, 1,000 years. You know, a book, the Bible, everything is here. It's a book. Come on, it's a book. Or everything is here in the family. The family is a construction. It's not real that the family is a dad, a mom, and two kids. The queer people, the other communities, we need to think the intersectionality. We need to think new strategies. Maybe the performance in this moment is not useful. We need to go to the street. Maybe we need to use more active pressure. In this moment, the president of my country is a far-right guy with very conservative idea, very close to Pinochet, very homophobic, transphobic, misogynist, and he will be the president. And he won with a very high percent. I believe in the power of the art, and I believe in the power of the activism, but the far right is winning. In Latin America is winning again and again and again. So
what would you say to British audiences listening to this podcast and they say, oh, I'm very sorry that's happening in Chile and happening to you, but it's not really relevant for us here in the UK?
It's important the supporting internationalism, because when one country in Latin America is in danger, it's an example for other countries. I mean, for the far right, that they can use the same strategy. I mean, for when Trump won the elections, he was an example for other countries, for other far right people or conservative groups to say, okay, this is possible. So nobody's safe. And when happened this kind of situation, like in Argentina, El Salvador, Chile, this is an example for another conservative group to say, okay, we can use the same experience in Chile, the same model in UK. You know, we live in Chile with the model of USA. So what I can say to the people in UK is the problem of the world. We are in danger. It's real. We are in danger again. And you are not safe, because if the ultra-right, the far-right in UK is watching the experience and the model in Chile and is working for the conservative group, they will use it. They will use it again. And this is a fact. It's happening now. The ultra-conservative groups are using the example of El Salvador, of Argentina, and using the same way to get the power to fight against marginalized groups. So yeah, you're in danger too.
It's very easy for us just to not care about things because they're happening abroad. But I think you're absolutely correct. I think that what is happening in other places are being watched by political forces at home, and what seems to work, they will be attracted to.
I think when you believe in the human rights, I don't know why not, but when you believe in the human rights, it's not about the country, it's about the humanity. So when one group is endangered, it's a problem of the humanity. No, when we are watching TV or I don't know Instagram and we are watching the genocide, it's not a problem of the Palestinian. It's a problem of the humanity because the humanity is dying. Our condition as human is in danger, and it's not about the color. It's not about the sexuality. It's not about the borders. It's about the humanity.
So, what do you think we should do as people living with HIV, as allies? What should we do you think?
Creating connection between groups, between activists, because for us in Chile was very important when during the dictatorship, the international support. People was traveling to Chile, taking pictures and going abroad with the picture, with the videos, showing this what was happening in Chile. And I think it's the same. The HIV communities and allies. We need to share our experiences. Now we have the possibility to do it in real time. I'm concerned about the future, and I think we need to work together, but in a real way, not just sharing stories in Instagram or sending hugs and kisses and energy, and no, something real, active.
I totally agree with you. No change comes from a hashtag.
Yes.
So then, Diego, what are you doing to make the world better for people living with HIV?
The theater, the performance have the possibility to spread the word in a real time in face to face, and when the people can listen the experience of people surviving to the HIV, people who lost somebody living with HIV, people who is living recently with HIV, or people who is fighting since 20, 30 years for the seropositive rights, we can change the stigma about the people living with HIV, this idea of the bad guy in the street, fighting with all the people without condom is the guy living with HIV. Yes, he is a person living with HIV and he has right. And I think the Living Museum project is a collection of testimonies and an archive to say we cannot live in the same terrible experience to fight to ask for rights in the 80s, and the government saying this is not a national problem when the people was dying. That was a war against the people living with HIV.
But also any efforts to amplify voices of people who are stigmatized is a good thing. However,
Yes.
one does it, either through a podcast or through theatrical performances like you do. I think it is difficult not to relate to someone's story when it is told to you. It is easy to dislike people whose stories are silent in your world. But even people I disagree with, once I know more about that story, even if I don't agree with them afterwards, I can at least understand better what their lives are, and I just see them as someone who has a different opinion from me, not somebody who was wrong.
Well, I think we have a lot of work to do.
I remember being at my university in Aberdeen when I was studying English literature, and I was doing a module about Oscar Wilde, and my lecturer told me that him being gay had no relevance on the text.
Yes, and this is very weird. Now I'm in Goldsmith studying a PhD, and the first conference that I participate, all the tables of I don't know, the morning was about the literature and, I don't know, ecology. And then different topics, but the topics was LGBTQ plus was a topic. And I say, why we are a topic? Why we are a topic as literature? Why, when you say literature and ecology, there is a queer person talking there about the queer experience, but we are using the academy. We need to move the structure because we need to be in all the tables talking about the queer experiences. Because my research is about HIV. I can be in the table about health, not just in the table about LGBTQ plus discussions. Or was there another researcher? I don't remember her name now. She is a trans researcher from Palestine. And she's working about, I don't know, futurism in Palestine literature. And she was in the LGBTQ plus table just because she's trans. But why she's not in the literature table? You know, so we need to change the structure because we will be a topic all the time. We are not a topic.
So if you could send a postcard to the world to give a personal, brief message to them, what would it say?
I want to say that we should be more concerned about the human rights in this moment. I obviously I want to say about the human rights of people living with HIV because I'm part of that community. But all the human rights in this moment are in danger. We need to be together without countries, without borders, without nothing, just together fighting, reading about what happened in the war, reading newspaper, talking about this in all the spaces, in the work, in your job, in the unis, in a podcast, in a WhatsApp group with your family, sharing everything, because the genocide is happening now. And tomorrow could be another country. Tomorrow could be our houses. And this idea of now I'm safe, maybe tomorrow, no.
Diego Agurto Beroiza, thank you so much for coming on HIV The Morning After. It's been smashing to have you and lovely to talk to you all the way in Santiago.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for this space. It's very important in this moment. It's very, very important, and you are doing a really, really amazing job.
If you were moved or informed by what you heard today, please help spread the word. Subscribe to HIV The Morning After and leave a rating and a review. It makes a huge difference in helping others to find it. Your support helps to amplify these experiences. If you'd like to get in touch, suggest a guest, or share your own thoughts, you can email me at hivthemorningafter@gmail.com. And remember, if you encounter HIV stigma in a bar, call it out. If you encounter it at work, call it out. If you encounter it online, call it out. Because if you don't, you're part of the problem. The theme tune is by Pauline Nidu at unstoppablemonsters.com. And many thanks to Murray Lang for his continued support. And thank you for listening. Join me next time for another important conversation on HIV The Morning After. I've been Dan Hall.